Hello everyone, and welcome to another video on the Casio CTX3000. And in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create some supercharged kind of layers, particularly concentrating on using the Portamento and Sustain buttons and the settings that can be applied to the tones. But first of all, let's have a listen to a layer that I've created. So this is a layer that's made up of two tones stacked on top of each other, two upper layers. And if you want to see which tones they are, then hold down the tone button for a short time and it'll switch backwards and forwards between the sounds that we're using. Let me just get rid of the upper two tone, and you can listen to this is a vocal synth tone. And if I play a chord, it won't actually play all notes of the chord because it's a monophonic sound. It'll jump to one of the notes that you try and play, which is why we get that nice kind of jumpy sound when I'm playing chords. There's nothing added onto that tone in terms of portamento and sustain. Everything's happening on the second tone. Let me bring that in. Which is a mellow string tone, and I've added a lot of sustain onto this tone. And the way to set sustain and portamento and other functions like this is to go into the function menu, short press there, use the arrows until we get to controller, press enter. We're looking for sustain here. Now press enter. And you can set the sustain levels for each of your layers. Remember, we've got two layers for the upper side of the keyboard, upper 1 and upper 2, and we've got two for the lower side, lower 1 and lower 2. So you can see upper 1 has no sustain. If I use the arrow to get to upper 2, I've maxed it out at a value of 9. And then the other settings I'm not using at all, so they don't really apply. Let's come away from there. And what I've done is I've saved that as a registration. So select a bank. I've selected bank number 1, hold down store, and I'm going to save that into registration number 1. Then that will be ready for me when I want to come back to that layer. So what I'm going to show you in this video are 7 more layers. I've programmed one for each of the registration buttons. So let's move on and have a listen to registration layer number 2. So again, I'm just using 2 layers, upper 1 and upper 2. And they're both using the same tone, a VA Synth 1, stacked on top of each other. But they've got different portamento settings. So let's again go into function, arrows to controller, find portamento, press enter. And again, just like with sustain, you can apply portamento to all of your layers independently. So upper 1 has quite a lot of portamento. The values range from 0 up to 127, and I've put it around 80 or thereabouts on upper 1. And for layer 2, upper 2, I haven't put any portamento at all. So one tone gets to the sound straight away, another one kind of takes quite a long time. to get itself onto the sound. Remember, with portamento, the amount of portamento really is where you're coming from and where you're going to. So I played a chord in the middle there. If I play something at the extremes of the keyboard, after that, the portamento tone is going to take a long time. It's got to travel quite a long way to get there. I've also put quite a lot of reverb on this tone as well. Let's get rid of layer 2 and just have upper 1. This is the one with all the portamento, and it's got a lot of reverb. And the way to add reverb is to go into the mixer, make sure that you're on keyboard, and then use the arrows to go down. And there's the reverb setting there for this tone, again a value of 80. And let's exit from there. And for the other tone, I think I kept it fairly dry. Can't remember. Let's have a look. Yep, it's on 0. And with the other tone. I'll put all the values and details on screen, but also in the comments area, or in the description rather, at the bottom of the video. Let's carry on. This is registration layer number 3. So now I'm building in this layer on the ideas that I've shown you in the first two with portamento and sustain, and also with reverb. Again, it's just 2 layers stacked on top of each other. Upper layer 1 is a sequence bass tone. Let's get rid of the other one. So this is the kind of plucky bass with quite a lot of reverb. I've also shifted the octave down as well. And then the other layer underneath there is a pad layer to kind of complement the plucky bass tone. And that's got a lot of sustain on there and portamento as well. So let's have a look at the values on there. So if we go into function, whoops, not edit. So a short press on function, go to controller, press enter. So first of all, portamento, press enter. So there's no portamento on the plucky bass, but on the pad sound, there's a medium amount of portamento added, 24 value. Again, the other values don't really apply because I'm not using layer 1 and layer 2. Let's exit there. And then on sustain, no sustain on the plucky bass, but a lot of sustain on the pad sound. Let's put it on. So very similar to that first registration that I showed you with mellow strings and the vocal synth. Let's move on to registration number 4. This is more kind of normal territory, I suppose, rather than synth textures. This has got a piano. And a bass, a little string bass. So we've got a split this time. We've got upper 1 and lower 1. And really, this is just applying a little bit of portamento on the bass sound. I've also changed the octave here in the piano. I've lowered the volume so that it balances out a bit more, because the bass, string bass, is a little bit soft. But it just sort of bends the note. Again, the distance that you travel, it'll be more noticeable if you're just going by step. It won't be quite so noticeable, but it'll just add a little bit of authentic kind of bass playing really into your layer. So again, let's have a look at the values. Controller, portamento, nothing on the piano, and then it's happening on layer 1. I've put a value of 40, so about sort of the 30% mark. Okay, let's move on to the 5th registration. Have a listen to this. So now we've got just an upper layer tone and then 2 layers in the left hand in the lower area of the keyboard down here. Let's have a little listen. So this is a lead sound for my right hand. And you can hear a bit of sustain and portamento on this one. And then in the left hand, I've just put a piano layered with some strings, stage piano and mellow strings layered together. And the strings have got some sustain in there just to hold the sound when I let go of the keys. I've also applied reverb, balanced them out a bit, put a little bit of chorus on the strings as well, just to thicken it up a bit. Let's have a look at the values. Press function, controller, press enter, portamento. So there's a little bit of portamento on the lead sound. There's nothing on layer 1, and just a little bit on layer 2. Just a little bit on the strings. Let's exit there, have a look at sustain, press enter. So a bit of sustain, medium amount of sustain in the lead tone. And again, a little medium amount of sustain on the strings. So it hangs on after I've let go of the keys. Carrying on, let's have a look at registration number 6 here. So now we're going full whack. We've got 2 layers on the upper side, right hand side of the keyboard, and 2 layers on the left hand side of the keyboard. Let me play you an example. So here I've got 4 tones stacked, and they're all the same tone, or more or less the same tone, same kind of tone. Synth strings. This one is synth string 2. I don't know why I put it on 2. Maybe 3 would have been better. So they literally are all the same. Let's just store that while I correct that. So press the store button, press registration, and that's stored in bank 1, number 6. So 4 tones, all the same, but they've got portamento applied in different amounts, different quantities. And if we go into the function menu, controller, portamento, so the upper 1 synth string has a small amount of portamento. The next one, upper 2, has a bit more. Lower 1 has a bit more again, and the last one has quite a lot. So the ones in my left hand have quite a medium to a lot of portamento. And the other thing that I've done here is, obviously we've got a split, is I've just changed the octaves a little bit so that we're more or less in the same kind of region, even though the split, I can't remember where I put the split, I think it's around about here on C4 in the middle of the keyboard. Yeah, so these 2 notes are the same, but the portamento that's applied is different. So they're all going to the same note, but all arriving at different times. And in the mixer, I've also panned the sounds a little bit. So upper 1 is panned off to the left, hard left, and then the next one comes in a little bit, and then layer 1 is over sort of just to the right, and then layer 2 is right over to the right hand side. So we've got this kind of stereo spread as well. Let's move on to layer 7. It's here, layer 7, registration 7. And this is more of a kind of normal sound, as it were, rather than textures and layers. An electric piano, electric guitar. And I've gone back just to using 2 tones here. Let's have a look at the 2 tones. I've got a chorus guitar. And there's a little bit of sustain on here. And some reverb and some chorus. Which on its own sounds pretty good. But I'm going to add in a layer. Another guitar sound, a clean guitar sound. And there's a bit more sustain on this tone. And some more reverb and quite a lot of chorus as well. Let's have a look at some of the settings. So controller, press enter, And we're going to go straight to sustain. So there's a little bit of sustain on that chorus guitar and a bit more on the clean guitar. And then the other settings don't apply. There's no portamento. There are settings within the mixer though. So in your mixer, these 1, 2 to 9 buttons, 1, 2, 3 and 4 represent the layers. So upper 1 is 1, upper 2 is 2, layer 1 is 3, lower 1 is 3, lower 2 is 4. So I've just changed the volumes. You can see the relative volumes between the two guitars. Strong on the chorus guitar, a little bit softer on the clean guitar. A lot of reverb on that softer guitar. It just adds a bit of background to the main guitar sound. And then a lot of chorus. On there, a little bit of chorus on the chorus guitar, a lot of chorus on the clean guitar. And that's about it. Let's go to the last registration, number 8. So a big kind of brassy synth tone, and back to just using 2 layers. I've got a warm synth brass on upper layer 1, which sounds pretty good on its own, but I've added into that some trombone. Which you can hear I've also shifted down an octave. So let's have a look at some of the settings here. Controller, portamento. So a little bit of portamento on the synth brass. Hardly noticeable really. A bit more when I add the trombones in. They've got a bit of portamento. Again, not a lot, but really the other thing that's happening here is the change of octave. I've shifted the trombone tone down 1 octave. So we've kind of got stacked brass, trombones low, and then maybe horns and trumpets above. And then in the mixer section, I've added some effects as well. First of all, let's start with volume. Balance the volume out a little bit. The trombones I've taken down. And then quite a lot of reverb on both brass sounds. To give them a sense of space, and a lot of chorus on both to thicken them up. So I hope that was useful. Have a go at using portamento and sustain in your layers. Thanks for watching.